Hola, bienvenidos a nuestro grupo. Soy Gary Bisaga, Gary Bisaga. Soy uno de los líderes de este grupo. El propósito de este grupo es para ayudarte a aprender el español. Thought I'd start with a little bit of Spanish. My name is Gary Bisaga. I'm one of the leaders of the group. And today I would like to, in order to help with pronunciation, help go through the words here in the capítulo preliminar here in the book, the preliminary chapter, to pronounce the different sounds to help you to hear what they sound like by themselves. Now, I am obviously not a native speaker of Spanish. However, I have worked on my accent quite a bit, and so hopefully the sounds you'll hear will be pretty close to what they're supposed to sound like. So let's start here on page 3 of the book, Dicho y Hecho, with los consonantes that are listed here. We'll go through each one. First we have the B and the V. In Spanish, the B and the V are pronounced identical. You can't tell the difference between the two, which is one reason why often Spanish speakers will misspell words. They'll substitute a B instead of a V and vice versa, because they sound the same. So they do sound the same. However, there are two possible pronunciations, depending on if it's at the beginning of the word or not. If it's at the beginning of the word, it sounds pretty much like the English B, except both the B and the V sound pretty much like the English B. It's maybe a little bit softer. You'll note in general a lot of the sounds in Spanish are a little bit softer than their equivalents in English, even if we say they're pronounced the same. They're a little bit smoother, a little bit less harsh, a little bit less explosive. In English, the B is quite explosive. Bat, baseball. In Spanish, it's a little bit softer. So the words we have on page 3 are banana, sombrero, invitación, violeta. Okay, so they're B's. If it's other positions in the words, and especially between vowels, the B and the V are much, much softer. In fact, the way I like to think of it is it's a B without touching your lips together. It's kind of a strange sound, but if you practice it, you can definitely get it. So let's just practice the sound. The sound is V, 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 V. So I'm making a B, but I'm not quite touching my lips. V, 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 V. Alright? And so the words here would be pronounced liberal, aventurero, rebelde. So you can see that the sound almost doesn't even come out. Rebelde, rebelde. It's almost a W kind of a sound. So moving on to the letter C, there is both a hard C and a soft C in Spanish. This should be easy for an English speaker because it's pretty much the same as the way we pronounce them in English. Unlike in Italian, say, where the soft C is pronounced like a CH. Now, I should say this is true for Latin American Spanish. Just like there are different English accents in different countries, there are different Spanish accents in different countries as well. This is probably the difference that most people know about, that in Spain the soft C is pronounced like a TH, almost with a lisping sound, whereas in Latin America it's pronounced like an S. You may have heard the story about the Spanish king, who the reason why in Spain they do it that way is because there was a king years ago who lisped, and his subjects didn't want to insult him, so they pronounced it like with a lisp. Story's bogus, of course. But anyway, so the letters in the words on the page here will start with the Latin American soft C before the I or an E. It's just like in English. It's pronounced like an S. So the words we have are cero, chimpancé, círculo, and gracias. In Spain, at least most of Spain, there are parts of Spain like Andalusia that is not pronounced this way, but in most of Spain, it's pronounced with a TH kind of a sound. And so those same words, we would have cero, chimpancé, círculo, and gracias. Just a little bit different. You'll notice it if somebody else is, if you're listening to somebody else speak, but it doesn't make a lot of difference. You can pick whichever one you want. Most people probably will be better off picking the Latin American version, the S version. In both places, they have the same sound for the hard C. As it says here, before A, O, U, or a consonant, it's a hard C, just like in English. So the words we have here are café, cucaracha, americano, and clase. Now I will note that it doesn't mention the CH, but there's also a CH sound, and again, that's easy because it's just like in English. And you have several words there that use it. Chimpancé and cucaracha both use the CH, so that's easy enough. Okay, moving on to the letter D. D is like B and V in that there's two different versions of it, depending on if it's at the beginning of the word or if it's in the middle of the word. At the beginning of the word, it's basically the same as the English D, but again, it's a little bit softer. It's not quite as explosive. So we have doctor, dentista, independiente, and banda. Basically the same as English. Between vowels, especially though, it turns into a TH, and in fact, it almost disappears. So the words we have there listed on the page would be adiós, universidad, and tímido. All right. On a word, you can really hear it on a word like universidad. Okay. Where it falls away, and in fact, you'll actually hear some people. They will drop it altogether. I actually do that sometimes in my own speech. I have to concentrate not to say universidad. Okay, that's fairly common in some areas, like Cuba. They don't have the F listed on here. It's just like the English F. A word like fantástico, just like the English F. Move on to the letter G. G is like C in that there are two versions, a hard and a soft. We'll start with the soft version, which in English we would of course pronounce J. In Spanish, it's like an H. It's kind of an H kind of a sound, maybe a tad rougher, a little bit more of a sound, not just a smooth, but it's basically an H sound. So the words we have here on the page are generoso, inteligente, and mágico. Mágico, for some reason, that's a word that I have trouble with. Maybe it's the G and the C together like that. Mágico. In other positions, as it says here, it's pretty much like the English G, except maybe a little softer. Gracias, galería, amigo. You'll note at the end, amigo, as it says here, it really can get softened. Again, almost ending up like amigo, almost disappearing in some cases.